Welcome everyone to the first ever Olmiga on the Move episode numero uno, where we speak with Mike about a previous conversation we had about
A lot of soul music turned rock, and all they did was change the melody or the speed of it.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes. White people ripped off black people.
Okay.
That's very well known in the rock and roll history. Like the Rolling Stones would be the first ones to tell you. Chuck Berry. If rock and roll had a name, it would be Chuck Berry. They would call it Chuck Berry. Because Chuck Berry came up with something like, let me show you a Chuck Berry song, and then I'll show you a Led Zeppelin song, and you could see the same almost tempo. Like Chuck Berry is like, you could do way down in New Orleans, from the Evergreens. Now let's take the same notes, the same almost tempo, and do a Led Zeppelin song. Chuck Berry's song.
Give me another example.
You
could do it.
That's one of the best ones. Or like, oh my God, did they rip off those poor people? Anything blues. Like, this is John Lee Hooker's song, and I'm going to show you how ZZ Top took the same song and ripped them off. Here's John Lee Hooker, who wrote it in the late 50s. Boom, 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 boom. Ha, 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 ha. That's the original song that John Lee Hooker wrote, an old blues artist from the 40s and 50s. Then ZZ Top comes along. 30 years later, takes the same notes and goes, ha, ha, ha. And all of a sudden, it's a new song. But it's not a ZZ Top. It's a John Lee Hooker song.
That's fantastic.
That I want to tell you a story about a girl I know. That's John Lee Hooker. Boom, 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 boom. Same. It's not ZZ Top. It's John Lee Hooker. And that music is not our music. And that's why, like, Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin should write a check to the black community. Because they are infamous for ripping off. Now, they gave it their own flavor, and things get regurgitated. Like the Black Crowes. Like, you'll see the Black Crowes on stage. And that's really, if you look closely, that's Mick Jagger from 1974. In fact, Mick Jagger went to see the Black Crowes, and he says, oh, that's me 30 years ago. So, if you play a lot of Black Crowes songs, which is... March me down to the 7th sea, yeah. That's Black Crowes. Kiss me, baby, it's a Sunday dream. Now, the Rolling Stones wrote something the same, basically the same thing, like, so you could go find any, like, Black Crowes song and just overdub it from a Rolling Stones song, and it's basically the same blueprint. Now, the Rolling Stones, of course, wrote it and created it, but I still think there's room for bands like the Black Crowes to do what they did, because they gave it their own flavor. I mean, it's basically the same blueprint and the same rock and roll songs, but when you hear you hear 2 seconds into a song by the Black Crowes, and you know, oh, that's the Black Crowes. Oh, you hear it, you're like, oh, I know those notes. You hear those first 3 notes, but it's really not the Black Crowes. It really is just a regurgitation of the same blueprint. Nobody's really invented anything recently. Ooh, except, who was the last guy? Even Nirvana. Like, you know, his songs were very basic. You know, they were all like 3 and 4 chord progressions, and that's what I loved about Nirvana. They took the 80s, which had become ridiculous with those stupid hair bands and all that crap that I love, Rat and Motley Crue. It just became ridiculous. And then Kurt came in and just, with a pencil, destroyed a whole decade of decadence. And all of a sudden, it was just back to those 3 chord progressions. Black Sabbath, very infamous. 3 chord, very big, nice songs, but you know, like these 3 chord progressions. And all of a sudden, people love, people don't want to sit there and, somebody sits there for hours playing guitar. It gets like, it gets boring after a while. Like a drum solo, like 10-minute drum solo. It's like everybody gets up and goes and gets a soda and popcorn. Same thing with guitars. Like, a lot of people don't want to sit there and listen to, like, these 20-minute solos.
A nice breakdown for a couple of minutes,
maybe a little, just something, just throw it in there, make it tasteful. But a lot of these songs today don't have solos anymore. They're just, like the change is just these chord progressions. Oh, this is a good song. Zeppelin, since we were beating up on him earlier.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mike. Say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.